Okay, this is me making the chocolate pie 3 or the good easy chocolate pie. And starting out here with 2.5 cups of sugar and a 1/2 cup of cornstarch. We'll use a teaspoon of salt. We'll use 3 tablespoons of cocoa. Dutch processed is theoretically better, but I don't have any, so that's not what we're using. We're going to use 2.5 cups of milk, 4 cups of cream, 8 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate. In theory, it works better if you can chop it or food process it, but I'm lazy and I'm not gonna. We're gonna need vanilla, we're gonna need butter. I like to use the prepared graham cracker crusts because it's just easier because I'm lazy. You can also buy the pre-made Oreo ones. Those are good. Or if you're feeling froggy, you can make your own with real graham crackers or graham cracker crusts, or about 20, graham cracker crumbs, or about 25 Oreos pulsed in your food processor, plus a 1/2 stick of butter does a pretty good job. Then you mash it in with a mason jar or the back of a large spoon, and then you're ready to go. So that's where we're gonna go. We'll start from here. Okay, the best thing to do is to go ahead and take your milk and your cream, mix them together, and put them in the microwave for about 10 or 12 minutes on 40 or 50% power. We're not going to start with that here for cinematographic purposes, for video purposes. We're going to do that here afterwards. It won't be quite as quick, but it's better if you do things in parallel, or it's easier, faster if you do things in parallel, but yeah, we're not gonna. So what we're gonna do here is we've got the 2.5 cups of sugar. We're gonna add in the 1/2 cup of cornstarch, and then we're gonna add a teaspoon-ish of salt. And then we're going to grab you can use a whisk for this, or a spatula, whichever works better for you. I'm using a spatula here because that's what I have handy. Basically, you just mix all this stuff up, and then it's time to add the cocoa. Okay, and here we've got 3 level tablespoons of Hershey's, #not sponsored, cocoa powder into a wire mesh strainer here. You can also use a sifter if you happen to have one handy. And we're just gonna shake it and or tap it on the side until we have nothing left except for pieces that don't really want to go through. And we don't actually need the tiny bit here that we're going to miss, so we're just going to throw that away. So now you got all your dry ingredients together there. You can mix these together again. You can use a whisk, you can use a spatula. I'm using a spatula primarily because I don't want to bother with getting the whisk dirty. So once you got these guys mixed up reasonably well, note that if you didn't sift or filter your cocoa, that you're going to have lumps of cocoa in there, and you're going to need to take the back of a spoon and smash that into this stuff and break up all the lumps in order to avoid little BBs of cocoa in your pie. So that's an important step, and either way, if you get rid of all the lumps, you'll wind up with a relatively smooth pie. And here we have 2.5 cups of normal vitamin D, 3.5% fat milk, to which we're going to add 4 cups of cream. You can use all half and half. You can use half and half and a little cream. You can use all cream. That's what my cardiologist recommends. Use whatever works for you, as long as you get the fat content. You don't want to use all non-fat milk or anything. That's not going to go well. But get you some milk fat in there, get you some liquid in there, and call it good. All right, we're going to pour this in here, and that's all going to go. So I've done this once or twice before. And then once we're done with this, we are going to pop that in the microwave, roughly 1,000 watt microwave, 1,200 watt microwave, 1,500 watt microwave, whatever, on 50 or 60% for 10 or 12 minutes. I'm going to use 12 minutes at 50%, and we'll come back when it's good and warm. Okay, here we are back with our fairly warm milk cream mixture fresh out of the microwave. We've got our chocolate and our vanilla ready to go here. And we've got our dry ingredients all mixed up here. So we are going to try and pour just a bit of our liquid ingredients into the bowl. This makes the mixing a good bit easier because things don't like to mix well with things that are wildly different in texture or viscosity. So what we're doing here is we're mixing this up to be a fairly thick mixture. Okay, so we got that good and thick and mixed up. So go back here and grab some more. And we'll pour some more liquid mixture in here. And we'll mix this stuff up. The idea here is you want to make sure you have the stuff all mixed together good. All right, then we'll go ahead and pour the last of this in. All right, Then we will mix on this for just a little bit. In an attempt to get it all mixed up. Now, while I'm doing that, let's talk about the chocolate here. I'm using 8 ounces, 2 4-ounce bars of Baker's chocolate. Once again, hashtag not sponsored. But I know the written recipe at one point said chop it or food process it up. I've tried various things, and the fact of the matter is breaking it up more than in about 4 or 8 pieces for each piece doesn't really make a ton of difference, any difference in the way that the pie comes out. So you're not really worth the effort there. And so now that we've got this appropriately mixed up, I'm gonna switch to the tripod to make this easier to do with 2 hands, and we'll be right back. Alrighty, so now we're up on the tripod, we're ready to go. Got everything all mixed together. It's reasonably warm to start. So now alright, we got the stove here lit and ready to go. Push the enameled cast iron pan that you don't have to have. Mom used to do this all the time in Tefal, so that's not, it doesn't really matter what you're using. I like to use turn the fire up here at the beginning for just a little bit while things get warm, while the pan gets warm. Again, that's less necessary if you're using Tefal or if you're using stainless, or if you're using some other non-stick or something. Obviously wouldn't do this in a regular cast iron unless you were a big fan of trying to clean up a mess. So we're going here. And if I can, when I go to edit this, I'm gonna actually put elapsed time on here so you see precisely how long it takes. And again, it's one of those things where you gotta stir constantly, otherwise you're gonna get stuff start to congeal on the bottom of your pan, and that's going to be bad for your overall texture. You can wind up with some lumps in it that way pretty easy. It's not what I'd call a lot of fun standing here stirring for 10 or 20 minutes, but just a little bit of dry ingredients over here on the side. I'm trying to scoop into the water, or the liquid rather. That is definitely getting warm. Again, this is probably quicker if you use a non-stick chicken fryer or a really big skillet or a non-stick Dutch oven, but it's probably a horrible mess if you try and do it in a normal stainless steel Dutch oven. Little serenade from man's best friend in there. This is where copyright law is unfortunate. It'd be awesome if we could stick something in here like the theme from King of the Hill, or at least something semi-exciting. Maybe something else from the refreshments. I didn't realize the King of the Hill theme was them until recently. Probably still not quite as good as Mekong or Banditos, but it's starting to get really warm here. Again, I did that for 12 minutes at 50% power on the GE. I think it's a 1200 or a 1500 watt microwave. Could probably go for a bit longer, honestly, although it did start to skin over by the time it was done, so. Again, still waiting for the mixture to come to the right temperature here. So we can put in the vanilla, the butter, and the chocolate. Yes, I know the butter's probably not in frame, but trust me, it's over here. Don't know that the butter really makes any difference. Mom always swore it made it smoother. This is not her recipe, by the way. This is a recipe that was lifted from either the Perfect Recipe cookbook from the first season and first editor-in-chief before Richard Kimball of America's Test Kitchen, or it's from the Cake Doctor recipe book. Reasonably sure it's from the Cake Doctor. It was originally intended as a cake filling in between layers, and I tried it and said, hey, that seems like chocolate pie, and I checked it out, modified a good bit, and then came up with this recipe. So as you might have noticed from my reference to it as Chocolate Pie 3, this is about the third try deviating from my mom's chocolate pie recipe growing up that we ate a good ton of. I think mine's at least as good as hers, but I might be wrong. I'm sure she would tell you that I was. Okay, so I feel stuff on the bottom starting to get scraped up by the spatula as it goes through. And how I think that works is that the strands or particles picked up off the bottom start to circulate through the mixture and help to thicken the whole thing up through uniformly as they start to build longer strands of whatever those are, if they're, I don't know, some sort of crystal or structure or whatever they are. You may be able to tell from looking that it's getting a little bit thicker. So we're getting close, and I can hear it as I scrape across the bottom. Ooh, yeah, we're getting close. Now, you may be worried that you're going to overcook it. You're not. When it's time to pull it off, it's going to be real apparent. Again, we're getting the big marbly look here of the milk on top of the mixture. There's the Toblerone again. All right, we're getting very close now. I can tell, and you can probably tell from looking as well. And we're starting to get some boiling, so I'm gonna turn this down to about 4 on the stove to finish up here. We got essentially this would be very painful if you got it on you, so I don't recommend that. Again, hopefully you can see as I drag the spatula through it that it's getting good and thick. Okay, so this is about where I think I'm going to dump the chocolate in. And then I'll just stir this till we get to the final color and the final texture we're looking for. It does take just a minute or so for the chocolate to melt. The entire mixture will start to get darker when we see that. Starting to see some chocolate swirls in there. All right, and we're getting to the final color here. All right, when we got to this texture, where it looks like it's going to be chocolate lava, then that's just about the right texture here. So wait just a minute longer. while we stir. All right, that's good. Turn that off. Go over here and get some vanilla. Get maybe a half tablespoon of butter. Then we'll stir those guys in. You see it's starting to thicken up as I've turned the fire off. Butter's starting to melt pretty quick. And we stir this until the last of the butter is gone. And it looks like the butter is all gone and mixed in here, so we will try moving the camera back here. Oops, that's no good. All right, and then we take the prefab graham cracker crust here. Set him right here. Check out the framing of the shot. It would be nice if we were just a little more framed. That's going to be close enough. If you're brave, then you can go ahead and pick this up and pour it into your waiting pie crusts. This makes roughly 2 of the larger 10-inch pie crusts full. I am not that strong lifting up the cast iron to do that, so normally what I do is I use a ladle like this and then pull it up and try to guess how to go without getting it all over everything. because I've only got one crust here because Walmart at Thanksgiving. I'm actually going to stop here and going to grab some bowls and do bowls of chocolate pudding with the rest of this. So these guys you can pick up and get pretty close with. Alrighty. And we've got a tiny bit left here in the bowl. That's what we like to call the leftovers for the chef. And that's really all there is to it. Making chocolate pie 3, a darn good, simple chocolate pie.